tonight, Donald Trump can't escape the Russia headlines. New reporting on Robert Mueller's investigation, Paul Manafort, Trump attorney Michael Cohen, and the Trump Jr. meeting. Plus, what Putin spokesman has to say about that email on Trump Tower Moscow. Also, the president hits the road to sell a tax plan. The only problem? There's not much of a plan to sell. Instead, he's warning Congress not to disappoint him. And the number out tonight of Americans who believe President Trump is tearing the country apart. The 11th hour begins now. Good evening once again from our NBC News headquarters here in New York. I'm Ali Velshi in for Brian Williams. This was day 223 of the Trump administration, and tonight, Harvey has been downgraded to a tropical depression after a dramatic day of rescues played out on televisions across the nation. The president had hoped to win the news cycle with tax reform after his speech in Missouri, but instead, and again, tonight, it's Russia providing a slew of dramatic headlines. Just in the past few hours, from the New York Times, Trump lawyer vehemently denies Russian collusion. From the Wall Street Journal, Paul Manafort's overseas political work had a notable patron, a Russian oligarch. From the Financial Times, Russian lobbyist testifies to Mueller grand jury. And perhaps the biggest of all, from Politico, Mueller teams up with New York Attorney General in Manafort probe. Josh Dawsey reports this about Special Counsel Robert Mueller and New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. The two teams, quote, have shared evidence and talked frequently in recent weeks about a potential case. According to Politico sources, it continues. One of the people familiar with the progress on the case said both Mueller's and Schneiderman's teams have collected evidence on financial crimes, including potential money laundering. No decision has been made on where or whether to file charges. Nothing is imminent, said one of the people familiar with the case. The report goes on to say, quote, people close to Manafort say the team has pressured him by approaching family members and former business partners. A number of other firms and people who have worked with him have received subpoenas. And a reminder, to date, Paul Manafort has not been charged with any crime. These stories all come after news from the Kremlin, a spokesman for Vladimir Putin, Dmitry Peskov, today confirming that he'd received an email from Trump's longtime attorney, Michael Cohen, about a real estate deal in Moscow, but he says they did not respond. With that, let's bring in tonight's starting panel. Ken Vogel, political reporter for the New York Times. Mike McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia during the Obama administration and an MSNBC contributor. And former federal prosecutor and MSNBC analyst Paul Butler. Gentlemen, welcome to all of you. Paul, let me start with you. The Financial Times is reporting that Rinat Akhmetshin gave testimony to a grand jury in the Mueller investigation. The headline is followed by this. Rinat Akhmetshin, the lobbyist and former Soviet Army officer who met senior Trump campaign aides at a controversial meeting last year, gave testimony under oath for several hours on Friday, August the 11th, in a sign that Special Counsel Robert Mueller is looking at the 2016 meeting as part of his investigation into links between Donald Trump's election campaign and Russia. Paul, this is the thing that we keep hearing the Mueller investigation is coming back to because it's evidence of information that the president's team was not forthcoming about initially.
Yeah, so two things. First is, again, it's often the cover-up. So here we know that Trump created that false narrative about what happened. So we wonder, what's he trying to evade? The other is, this was a meeting in which the Russians offered information about Hillary, which Donald Jr. eagerly accepted. So they have this receptivity to collusion, to getting information about the Russians. Now, again, it's only a crime, collusion is, if it's something else illegal, like conspiring to hack emails. So just reaching out for information itself isn't a crime.